The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where Nicolás Maduro is now being held, has long been branded one of the most notorious and dangerous federal jails in the United States. Critics, inmates, and even federal judges call it barbaric and inhuman. Hello and welcome. I'm Vaishali Kohli, and you're watching Deep Dive. And today we will talk about the notorious and infamous Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Opened in the early 1990s, known as the MDC, the jail is one of the largest federal lockups in the country, housing around 1,600 inmates at any given time. While some face serious charges like international drug trafficking or terrorism, the vast majority face lesser crimes. The jail center is a sort of way station for the detainees as they await trial or sentencing. It became New York City's only federal jail center in 2021 when the Justice Department shut down the Metropolitan Correction Center in Manhattan, at least temporarily because of deteriorating conditions. In 2019, the complex was plunged into a week-long blackout when the jail's heating and electricity shut down during a polar vortex, when temperatures in the city dipped into single digits. A Justice Department report found officials had gravely mishandled the crisis. It's a routine landing spot for people awaiting trial in federal courts in Manhattan and Brooklyn, holding alleged gangsters and drug traffickers alongside some people accused of white-collar crimes. A throng of Venezuelan expatriates, many draped in flags, gathered on the sidewalks outside the jail Saturday night to celebrate Maduro's capture. The crowd cheered as a law enforcement motorcade believed to be carrying the deposed leader and his wife arrived at the jail. Maduro is not the first president of a country to be locked up there. Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, was imprisoned at MDC Brooklyn while he was on trial for trafficking hundreds of tons of cocaine into the U.S., convicted and sentenced to 45 years in prison. Hernandez was pardoned and freed by President Donald Trump in December. It has been plagued by scandal and accusations of mismanagement. It is also deeply troubled. In recent years, it has been the scene of stabbings and killings, and here's why. Chronic violence plagues this facility. Stabbings happen multiple times a week, with several inmates' deaths in recent years, including 2 fatalities just last summer. Conditions are described as grotesque: maggots in food, overflowing toilets, and rotting meals served regularly. Medical care is virtually non-existent, leading to accusations of neglect that judges say show contempt for human life. In 2019, a week-long power failure left more than 1,600 inmates freezing in the dark during a polar vortex, sparking a $10 million settlement. Severe understaffing means near-constant lockdowns, fueling more chaos and assaults. Federal judges have gone so far as to refuse sending non-violent defendants there pre-trial and have reduced sentences just to compensate for time served inside. From post-9/11 detainee abuse to staff sex scandals, MDC Brooklyn's dark history keeps growing. Tonight, as the world watches Maduro's detention there, the spotlight is back on a facility many say represents the worst of America's federal prison system. The Metropolitan Detention Center is a hulking facility in downtown Brooklyn that for decades has held some of the United States' most infamous accused criminals as they await trial. Maduro, who was taken into the jail on Saturday, will join the ranks of high-profile detainees who've passed through the MDC. Others include Ghislaine Maxwell, the partner of the convicted sex offender and financier Jeffrey Epstein, Sean Diddy Combs, and the singer R. Kelly, convicted of sex trafficking. The Brooklyn jail holding Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is a facility so troubled. Some judges have refused to send people there even as it has housed such famous inmates as music stars R. Kelly and Sean Diddy Combs. Current detainees include the co-founder of Mexico's Sinaloa drug cartel, Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia, and Ligui Mangione, who is accused of killing the CEO of United Healthcare. Past inmates have included crypto mogul Sam Bankman-Fried and longtime Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Located next to a shopping mall in a waterfront industrial area and within sight of the Statue of Liberty, the jail has been described at its worst as an ongoing tragedy. Detainees and their lawyers have long complained about the rampant violence 2 prisoners were killed by other inmates in 2024, and jail workers have been charged with accepting bribes or providing contraband. Recently, however, the Federal Bureau of Prisons says it has worked to improve conditions. The facility added correctional and medical staff, remedying more than 700 backlogged maintenance requests and answering judges' concerns. Improvements were also made to electrical and plumbing lines, food service and heating, and air conditioning systems. In addition to the physical upgrades, federal authorities have tried a crackdown on crime inside the lockup. Last March, 23 inmates were charged with offences ranging from smuggling weapons in a Doritos bag to the stabbing of a man convicted in the killing of hip-hop legend Jam Master Jay. In short, MDC Brooklyn is safe for the inmates and staff. The Bureau of Prisons said in September, the inmate population also decreased from 1,580 as of January 2024, which it said led to a substantial decrease in crime and contraband. While there, Maduro is likely to see some familiar faces if he is allowed out of the isolated quarters where he will initially be housed. One is co-defendant, Hugo Carvajal, the former Venezuelan spy chief who broke ranks with Maduro in 2019 and has indicated that he wants to cooperate with U.S. authorities. There is also Anderson Zambrano Pacheco, an alleged member of Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang, who was arrested last year in New York on firearm charges. Zambrano Pacheco was among those caught on security video terrorizing residents at an apartment complex in a Denver suburb, an incident that Trump seized on during his presidential campaign. The MDC has drawn more scrutiny since 2021 when the Bureau of Prisons closed its other New York City jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center. After Jeffrey Epstein's suicide, there highlighted its lax security, crumbling infrastructure, and dangerous squalid conditions. Maduro faces federal charges of narco-terrorism and conspiracy to import cocaine into the United States. He and his wife, Celia Flores, are expected to make their first court appearance soon in Manhattan. I now have Ambassador Suresh K. Goyal, former diplomat, joining me on the broadcast. Ambassador Goyal, welcome. And of course, a very big day. They've reached, Nicolás Maduro and his wife have reached the Manhattan court for their initial appearance. What would you like to say on what follows ahead?
Difficult times indeed. First of all, the charges against Maduro and his wife, which are being levied in the court, they relate to narco-terrorism, which is one of the most serious charges. And the penalty, USA does not have a death penalty, but otherwise this could actually lead to the maximum possible incarceration in a prison, up to 14 years. What they call the life imprisonment could be even longer. So my suspicion is that the way this trial is going to take place, clearly it is not just a trial. It is not just any other trial, but it is motivated by serious attempt by Trump to bring Maduro to a book for challenging him, for provoking him, for being what Venezuela has been doing in terms of controlling the oil, etc. So it's more really relating to a political kind of a case than anything. And seeing Trump's behavior, my suspicion is that this case may not go on for very long, but would probably be brought to a quick end with serious and long imprisonment for Nicolás Maduro, and that is what, and his wife, and that is what they face at the end of the trial. Yes, that's what I would say really for the time being.
Now, Ambassador Goyal, yes, Ambassador Goyal, does an initial appearance really signal the start of a full legal process, or do you think that there will be major hurdles ahead?
From my understanding, the process of law in USA is indictment that has taken place. After the indictment, when the when the person is brought to trial in the court, that is when the case begins. Really, the need for the indictment is not there. Therefore, this would be a full-scale trial. from now on.
And Ambassador Goel, there's been a lot of conversation around the fact that this case intersects with the principle of sovereign immunity. What do you feel about that?
Vaishali, that's a very, very good question. In any other case, uh, even a court in USA would probably bring up the question of how the person was arrested, how the person, whether the arraignment of the person is infringing on any other right of the person and the international law. Somebody could question that. If there is a lawyer appointed for Maduro, he could bring in the issue of international law and infringing of the sovereignty of a state from where he was arrested. In this particular case, because it is going to be a council appointed by the state for him, I'm sure there will be a council for him, whether he would bring up the question or not, and if this is not made a point in the case, there will be no discussion on the sovereignty. So that's a very interesting point really that you have raised, but I do not know whether that particular point will come into the play. It will all depend upon how the case is prepared and how the state appointed counsel in Manhattan brings up the point.
Ambassador Goel, pleasure speaking to you, sir. Thank you for joining me on the broadcast. And with that, we're slipping into a short commercial break. We'll see you on the other side.